For the delay. Today we're going to be discussing contract negotiations and making some awesome chuck roast. This is some high collagen, some collagen rich bone broth. It's not actually honey, we just keep it in a honey jar. Have some onions, rosemary, thyme, black pepper, salt, olive oil. And we are going to be making it in the Ninja Foodie right here. So turn this around. My girlfriend is on a work trip, so I will be self-filming. The offer is always good, so drop comments if you have questions. Topic for today is going to be contract negotiations. And we're gonna actually use two things at once to make this go efficiently. So you can make everything in the Ninja Foodie. You can braise the meat in there, but before you braise the meat, you can actually sear it in there. And you can also sear or saute the onions in there. You don't sear onions, you saute them. However, to save a step, I'm gonna be doing two things at once. So what I'm going to do, first and foremost, is I'm going to chop up the onion, and I'm gonna put this onion on the cast iron. That is, after I pour this liquid out. Okay, so we're going to, I could be chopping up the onion on a wood cutting board. That would save me some microplastic exposure, but oh well. You know, my working theory on exposures to microplastics as well as all things bad is everything that you do is worse if you do it when you're fat. I really think that my biggest saving grace to, you know, not having low testosterone and not being severely impacted by all the hazards in our environment, simply not being fat. Okay, so step number one, we're going to peel the onion. We're going to turn the flame on high for the cast iron. I'm going to peel this onion a number of different ways. Move this bad boy back so y'all can see me a little bit better and I can see you. Wonderful. And then I'll peel this onion as well. And we're going to pour a little bit of olive oil on the cast iron. You can't see this, a little bit out of the picture, but it's pretty straightforward. We got the cast iron right here. Promise none of this is rocket science. I'm gonna sneeze. Got too much onion in my face. So apologies in advance when that happens. I can't tell you exactly when, but I think it's coming soon. And then I'm going to start crying because of this onion for sure. But before I start crying, I'm going to continue slicing the onion. Okay, topic for today is contract negotiation. So if you are going through a contract negotiation, you want some advice, leave a comment. Maybe we can get to what your particular situation is. And if not, you know, I can talk through ways to consider your contract negotiation depending on your level of seniority within a group, if that is a work contract or if it is contract that you're running through your personal business. We can talk through incentives, malincentives, and why a lot of people get messed up going in the wrong direction. Okay, so first things first, we got all of this onion chopped up. I'm gonna throw it in here. Now, going to take the center out. Center looks a little bit yucky. Okay, so we're gonna take one spatula. Promise you guys aren't missing anything crazy. This is just sauteing of the onions. Just gonna make sure that they're not all clumpy in the cast iron. So that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, so contract negotiations. If you have questions, have I heard of the 531 program? What are your thoughts? Is that in reference to training? Depends on what your goal is, Dylan. So I can't answer what are your thoughts on something that vague. I need specifics. So with respect to with respect to contract negotiation, a lot of people feel that, you know, you're confined to a small number of asks. You are confined to asking for more money, you're confined to asking for more equity, you're confined to asking for various clauses in your contract if you feel like you're senior enough to get that. The reality is there's no such thing as rules when you're entering into a contract. A lot of stipulations that you get may end up being gentlemen's agreements, particularly if there's venture capitalists involved and you're negotiating for something outside of compensation. If it's compensation specific, you want that in writing. If it's non-compensation specific, such as, you know, my on track for promotion, you know, how many people we're bringing in, like these aren't things that they can write into the contract, well, they probably could, but they're not going to. And so you have to basically size up how your asks are related to other people who are possibly interviewing for a similar role. You don't want to be the asshole who's asking for things that are completely out of line with what other people who can provide a similar expected value are asking. But that doesn't mean you can't be aggressive. And so I want everybody that I work with to be aggressive. Before we take the next step in talking through being aggressive, we're going to salt the chuck roast. And then right now I'm pouring in some olive oil into the Ninja Foodie. So, Dylan, we're not talking about your lifting right now. So we got the Ninja Foodie, and we are going to put this on. I'm going to turn it on, and we're going to turn it on to sear. And then we're going to start. See what happens. Let this go. Okay, so we're going to let that get hot. While we let this get hot, we're going to keep salting the chuck roast. And while we salt the chuck roast, we're also going to keep stirring the onions, make sure that they don't get burned. So we love multitasking in Chef Alex's kitchen because multitasking is the key to getting things done efficiently when you know how to properly structure your program. Okay, so that was a decent amount of salt that I put on side one. We don't actually need quite as much. We're gonna put some pepper on. And then we're gonna flip it. And then we're gonna put a little bit of pepper on this side. And we're gonna put some salt. And pepper. While we give the onions a stir. Onions are cooking pretty well. And we are going to continue to flip this. This is my first time doing a saute on the Ninja Foodie, so I'm not sure if I properly turned it on, but we're doing it right now. And if we do it poorly, then we're just gonna have to do it on the cast iron. That's about as simple as that's gonna be. Okay, so we got, and then we're going to, all right, so now we gotta put some salt on, or some pepper on these sides. All right. And, okay, so the onions are basically done. I'm not very confident in the likelihood that this Ninja is getting, oh no, it is getting hot. Okay, perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. We are going to turn the sauteed onions off because those are gonna burn if we let them cook a little bit longer. We're gonna continue to let the Ninja Foodi get hot because it's still warming up. Okay, so contract negotiations. If you're senior, you can ask for more things, obviously. If you have, and by senior, I don't actually mean old, I don't actually necessarily mean decades of experience, I just mean, do you have something that is irreplaceable? If you have something that's irreplaceable, everything is on the table. So that's what people don't get when they're negotiating contracts, is the biggest thing that you must have is irreplaceability. If you know how to do something that nobody else there knows how to do, the world is your oyster. You can literally ask for everything. You don't want to right away, because the most you can get in a negotiation is after you've already delivered value, and realistically after you're already running a large portion of the business, whether you're working for somebody in a W-2 basis, or if you're a business contracting with a client. They're not going to just give you the keys to their bank account unless their business is literally dependent on you. And so it takes time to build relationships. It takes time to build trust. And so you want to make sure that your initial ask is stiff, but it's to show your value, right? Because you're not going to renegotiate that initial ask for several months, if not years. So you want to ask for a good amount to show your value up front, but not so much that the deal can't move forward. Okay, so I'm feeling the Ninja. It is feeling like it is getting warm. I am going to go ahead, take this salted and peppered chuck roast, and I'm going to put it in. It's starting to sizzle. So I think I'm on the right track. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I don't actually know if I'm on the right track, because it should be sizzling more. If it was in a cast iron, it'd be sizzling a little bit more than that. So we are learning as we go when we're cooking on this Ninja. Okay, so when you are asking for more in a contract, there's a couple ways, there's a couple things you can ask for. You can ask for more money. You can ask for more vacation. You can ask for more time to handle your health. I think the easiest thing to ask for, you don't really want to be the guy asking for vacation when you're negotiating a contract. You will benefit a lot if you can negotiate for workout time. Because as I've mentioned on many forums, if you stop working out, people think that you are no longer worth money, because you start to look unhealthy. And when you look unhealthy, people don't want to bet on you anymore. So a great way to ensure that people will continue to respect you is to always look like you're in shape, no matter how hard you're working. And the easiest way to do that, in addition to having your diet and alcohol consumption in check, is to always make sure that you have time allotted to go to the gym. And so this is something that can be negotiated prior to starting a job. Okay, so let's hear this sear. This is a good sear. This is a good sign. We like this sign. I'm gonna let this thing sear for about, listening from Canada, nice. Mimi Guy Chicken, hi, what's up? Okay, so we're gonna let this thing sear. It does need to get a little bit hotter. Like, this thing's not gonna sear properly unless it gets hotter. And so we're gonna wait about 3-4 minutes. And if it fails to get hotter, then I'm just gonna saute it or sear it on the cast iron before throwing it on the Ninja. Okay, so the Ninja just beeped, which means I think now and only now it has reached full heat. So perhaps I was a little bit abrupt in throwing the chuck roast on. That's okay. You learn, as Alanis Morissette says, you learn, you live, you learn. So we're gonna let that keep going. I think it's probably gonna be about 3 minutes per side times 6 sides. So maybe about 18 more minutes before we start throwing in all the other good stuff. And if it takes longer than that, probably not doing it right. And so we're gonna call an audible and go back to our trusted cast iron. All right, so let's see how we're doing right now. We are, oh, you know what? We're only 33 seconds into the hot flame. One thing that I didn't realize about contract negotiation or negotiation before I started working is it's far less adversarial than you would think. Like movies make it seem like it's very adversarial. It shouldn't be. You should be informing your counterparty as much as you're asking, okay, we're starting to get a decent sear. All right, I can see this working. You're informing your party just as much as you're asking for more from them. So, when I negotiated for my last W-2 offer, I was informing my company that they were about 50,000, actually more, maybe closer to 100,000 below what reasonable comps around Silicon Valley were. And so we met in the middle. They gave me $50,000 more and everything was good. It wasn't adversarial, right? I left money on the table, and you want to leave a little bit on the table because you don't want the counterparty to your contract to think that you absolutely screwed them, because then they're going to just, people are tit for tat. That's how primates are. And so you don't want people to feel like that. You want them to feel like, this is just step one of a multi-step agreement. If people feel like you're trying to just juice everything out of them in the beginning, that is probably the first step towards a poor relationship. One thing that you want to do is, a lot of times people worry about being too picky in contract negotiations. But, think about like a girl. If there's a girl who you can't take her to certain places on a first date, and she sets that expectation, yeah, you might think she's a bitch, but you also might respect her more. And so you have to think, are you, man, worth respecting? Do you want your company or your employer to respect you? Or if you're running your own company, do you want your client to respect you? Or do you want that person to just think that he owns you? And depending on your answer, that will dictate what, how much you can ask for yourself. Okay, wonderful. I'm going to show you what I got right here. This is a great job searing side one. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're going to do about 3 minutes per side. In the Ninja Foodie. Okay, so while we're going to do that, we are also going to quarter the onion, because that is another step. So after we're done sauteing, we're searing all sides of the chuck roast, we're going to put the bone broth in. We're going to shake it up, put the bone broth in, and then we're going to throw a little bit of red wine in there. And there's also going to be carrots involved. So I don't need to show you how we're going to wash those, but I'm going to do it while we're filming. And if anybody has questions regarding negotiations, drop them in the comments and we'll see if we can talk through your particular situation. Okay, let's see. Okay, so now we have properly quartered this. And my eyes are about to water again. Good thing everybody eating this kisses me, so they're gonna get my germs in case a little bit of my sneeze got on those onions. And if there are any bacteria on there, it's all gonna burn anyway. So not too worried about that. Okay, so I'm going in the kitchen. I'm going in the fridge. Obviously, I'm going in the kitchen. Going in the fridge. I'm getting some carrots to wash. Maybe. Let's see. And all right, now we're reaching about 5 minutes on side 2. See how we're doing. Okay. I like how side 2 is getting seared. We're gonna let that go for another 15 seconds or so. I'll show you how we did. That's side 2. So we're gonna let this thing sit like that for another few minutes. If it falls, it falls. All right. Okay, now we're gonna start washing some carrots. We're not gonna put the carrots in right away. We're gonna put the carrots in right before the thing's done, maybe an hour before the thing's done. But between now and then, I've gotta wash them. So, a lot of people don't realize that your ability to become financially free oftentimes is contingent upon you negotiating your initial contracts well, because the quicker you can make $150,000 or more per year, the easier it is to start saving money. It's really, really difficult to save money if you're making under $100,000, $150,000 a year. But once you are making $100,000, $150,000 a year, it's a lot easier to save money. And when you save money, it's a lot easier to compound your money, and you can invest it much better. So it's pertinent. I was about to make up a word that was combining the two, but it is prudent that you get those. If you can get an extra $20,000, you got to get it. Not because you're going to spend that money on your lifestyle, but because you need to invest that money. If you want to be successful, you put $20,000 into a growing market. When you're 25, by the time you're 35, you can expect that to be $100,000. Because it's the rule of 72. So if you just make 15% per year, compounded for 10 years, you've 5x your money. And so that is really how people can build wealth. If you save 50,000 a year and that 50,000 compounds by 5x over a 10-year period, well, you might have over $1 million. That's that's the easiest way people can become a millionaire. It's not by starting their own companies. It's by effectively negotiating for, an extra $50,000 from their existing job and investing it properly. Oops. Did not realize didn't realize we had a little bit of a fall here. So that just made one side a little bit extra toasty. No big deal. Let that one sit a little bit longer. And then if you're on the flip side, if you're an employer negotiating with an employee, you want to be able to pay people because talent commands money. At the same time, you want to be able to have people prove that they're not just really smart, but they're a good fit for your particular company. Okay, so now we're turning this on side 4. We got 2 more sides. You can see this side's still raw, but we got a couple more sides that we're going to cook or sear before we're ready to throw the onions in. I feel like the pan continues to get hotter, so I think we're gonna be able to put less and less time on each side as we rotate, and that's cool. So the other thing that people often omit when they're on the buying side, when they're on the hiring side of contracts, is poorly structuring incentives, right? Because your contract is only as good as the incentives that are in it. And you can expect contracts that are not properly structured from an incentive standpoint to absolutely blow up, right? Because people will do what they're incentivized to do. And so you have to go through and comb through your incentive structure in your contract under the assumption that people are going to really be trying to screw you. And they're going to go through it and they're going to try to look for the easiest way to fulfill all the obligations in the contract. And they're going to do that. That's what you must assume they're going to do. Okay, wonderful. So I think we are almost just getting the last side seared. We're gonna hold this for about 20 seconds longer. So you have to think through your contract structure under the assumption that if you hire somebody smart, that smart person is going to try to game the contract structure and do what's best for him, not what's best for your company. You might not want that to happen. It might feel uncomfortable to believe it's going to happen, but you're going to save yourself a lot of time, effort, misery, money by assuming that your contracts are going to be gamed. And assume that people will get paid to screw you over. I was talking to a client of mine who is contracting to build a house, and I mentioned to him that he needs to ensure that the person who's selecting vendors is compensated to keep the costs low. Otherwise, he's probably going to be getting kickbacks. And if you don't understand how your employees can get kickbacks, they're probably going to be able to get kickbacks with the contract that you structured for them. So be very careful for that. If you need help, obviously hit me up. Okay. So now that looks pretty good. So what we're going to do right now is start bringing in some of these onions. Start putting them on the side. Just gonna That's hot. That was real hot. Okay, so now all right, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to turn that off. We're going to move this to where it's sitting on top of les oignons. Okay. We're going to take the bone broth, shake up the bone broth, and we're going to pour gonna pour the bone broth in there, not all of it, maybe a cup and a half of it. How much was this? It was probably about a cup and a half. Then we're going to take the red wine. Pour a little bit of red wine. Pour a little bit of red wine in there, and then we're going to take the quartered onions. I'm going to put these in here to start. We're going to take our lid that was being used earlier today for cooking that delicious bone broth. And then we are going to braise it. This is a 2.75 pound chuck roast. So we're going to braise it for 3.5 hours. After 2.5 hours, we're going to put the carrots in. And then, of course, I'll show you at that point that Chef Alex didn't miss. Thank you for tuning in every Wednesday and Friday, 2 Eastern, 1 Central, when we're starting on time. Bring your questions, bring your appetite, and hopefully I can help you out. Peace.